This is TWiT.
If you've got a drone and you want to put your cinematic skills to work, our guest, Ant Pruitt from TechRepublic, has the knowledge to get you there. Welcome to the show, Ant. It's great to have you here.
Hey, Mr. Howell. How you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. It's great to finally see you on the stream. So first, you wrote about how to create, you put it, stunning cinematic video with drones. Do people need state-of-the-art drones and camera technology to do this? And if not, what do you say should be the bare minimum? Because I know a lot of people probably have drones, but like what level of drones are we talking about here?
Well, I would say at the bare minimum, start with the Phantom 3. The Phantom 3 standard is good enough because you're going to get 1080p footage and you're going to get 30 frames per second for video. But I wouldn't go any lower than that as far as a camera.
So obviously the Phantom 3 has a camera kind of installed in the drone. Is it possible for people to kind of bring their own cameras and expect the same level of quality, or do you want a camera on the level and integrated into a drone just like this?
Well, there are other options out there, specifically with the FPV drones, where you can attach your own camera to it. The problem with something like that is you lose a lot of control and reaction time to your movements because it's not necessarily integrated into the main motherboard and the transmitter that you have.
Got it.
So I know you're a professional photographer. What's the biggest difference between just the photography that you do regularly and then, you know, since you've been moving into drone, it's obviously videography. What's the big, or have you been taking still photos as well from the drone?
Well, with the drone, you have to take in consideration safety. You know, when I'm walking around doing my street photography stuff, I'm always thinking about the privacy of others, and that's a real serious issue because of social media ruining photography for a lot of people. But when you're out there with your drone, you have to think about the safety of others and the safety of the environment that you're in, because anything can happen. I mean, yeah, these things are pretty state of the art and they fly really well, but mine has fallen out of the sky before, just at random. And you have to be careful with hurting someone or damaging property or things like that. So that's always on my mind. And a lot of times when it comes to if there's surrounding people there, I try to make sure that I am quite visible and they know that I'm getting ready to fly. And a lot of times they enjoy that moment of knowing, oh, there's a drone here, and they sort of wave and participate in the shot to try to give you a different mood of your shot.
Nice. How exactly do you want to make sure that your camera that's on board is set up prior to launch? I'm sure you've nailed this through trial and error, but what do you recommend for people to figure this out?
First and foremost, when you fire up your drone for the first time, don't even put your propellers on. Just fire it up and walk through your camera settings. Take a look at the menu where you have your color profile, your aspect ratio, and your resolution. Of course, 4K is going to be the king, but not all of them have 4K. But as you see there on your on the article there, definitely try to set it to the log color profile, because it's going to be a flat image, okay? It's not going to look good when you're out there flying around, but when you go to work with it in post, it's going to be so much easier to bring out the contrast and to bring out the saturation of your different scenes.
What is log? Could you explain that real quick, just as an idea of why that setting?
It's just a profile that your camera's processed with, and it makes everything flat. You don't get the vivid blues or the really bright reds. It just makes everything sort of muted and balanced. Sort of boring when you first see it.
So what other tips do you have for processing the footage that you take?
Well, you have a bunch of different options out there, and I know a lot of people aren't able to afford the likes of Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, which is what I use. But you can jump into DaVinci Resolve, which is totally free, and it's pretty daggone powerful and allows you to go in and color grade. Actually, a lot of professionals use DaVinci Resolve to color grade more so than they would use Premiere or Final Cut. But it's pretty easy and intuitive to step through it and make things look as cinematic as possible. You can have lookup tables, which are pretty much filters. And I know photographers are going to just cringe when I say that. But think of Instagram and its filters. It's a similar aspect when you have lookup tables, are also known as LUTs, L-U-Ts.
I've never even heard of this software, to be honest. I'm ashamed to admit I've never heard of this. So this is a free kind of like video editing suite?
It is pretty robust as well, brother. You install it, and you better have some hardware, to push it, because it's going to really do everything you're trying to do to make that video pop.
Oh, that's really cool. And Burke just told me Blackmagic. So this is a Blackmagic project.
Yes,
product,
Blackmagic.
Right? Okay. Right. Man, I'd never heard of that. That's really a really good tip there. What about flight patterns? Because I mean, a big part of what makes drones so great for cinematic video is that they can kind of follow, have the follow pattern to follow the person that holds the control. But there are other ways to do this. What have you found to be the most effective?
Well, when I tried to do the follow with the control, I just didn't quite feel like that I had control, if you will, because sometimes you can stick a controller in the subject's pocket or something like that. I've done that a few times and have them just go down the street or go down a field or whatever. But I'd rather be able to have a little change in elevation when I'm following a subject, because it makes it look a little less static and gives it a little more dramatic feel, depending on what you're trying to shoot and what mood you're trying to set with it. The flight modes are pretty nice. The orbit mode is pretty good, but I much rather do it myself. I know with my particular drone, I use an Autel Robotics X-Star. The orbit mode doesn't do as well, because every now and then, at about every 10 to 20 feet, it jerks just a little bit to change the angle. And that just drives me nuts when I'm going to edit. So I've sort of figured out how to do the orbit myself. And it takes a lot of practice to do that, because you can just jerk around on the screen and it's very, very noticeable.
So I saw that you reviewed the Polar Pro Drone Trekker, which is like a backpack to carry.
Oh, yeah.
Do you recommend it? And do you recommend any other gear for people who are heading out to do some drone photography?
I do, actually. I recommend the Polar Pro Drone Trekker because it is a dedicated drone backpack. Okay, you can carry along your DSLR and things like that in it, but if you specifically want to carry your drone, it's built for that. It has all of the perfect padding and the extra pockets and things like that you need for all of your accessories, remote, and so forth. But I'm also carrying around a bag from the folks at Peak Design. They saw another one of my reviews and loved it and sort of sent it to me and said, here, thank you for the review. I had no idea what this bag was. It's called the Everyday Backpack. And I had the thing for about a month before I opened it up. And when I opened it up, I was like, oh, what was I thinking? It's really, 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 really nice. It has all of the things that a photographer thinks about when they're out in the field, as far as how do you access things. You don't necessarily have to take the bag out to get to the bottom of your backpack. You can access things from the side. And then it's waterproof. And I pretty much ran that thing through the ringer on one of my staycation trips down at the beach, and it took a beating and just kept on going. And my drone was safe. The only thing that's different with it is I have to put my drone on the outside of the bag, but it has straps made for that. You strap your drone in like it's a little baby you're carrying around on your chest or something, and it works just fine.
Nice. That's awesome. You also mentioned something in your piece about using a lanyard to steady your movements, and I was like, "Oh, okay. This obviously comes from trial and error." How exactly do you use a lanyard to do that?
Oh my goodness, Jason! There was a time I was out flying, and I'm a big guy, fairly strong or whatever, but I was flying for about an hour, and I just got tired, and that remote just started to feel heavy, and the more that I tried to make a nice, easy movement, the more I started to shake just from fatigue. And the second I decided to put that lanyard on, it really did take away that extra weight on my fingers and palm of my hand and allowed me to be a little more careful and smooth in my shots.
Well, you have amazing photographs.
Thank you, Megan.
You're welcome. You have stock photos. You also do, I think we have a link to your stock photos that you do. One of my favorite subjects of yours is dogs. So I was hoping, you have some beautiful photos of dogs, and I was hoping you could maybe give us at least one tip of how to photograph our dogs.
Oh my goodness. Dogs are so difficult because they look at that lens and they're like, dude, stop staring at me.
Exactly.
And they will turn away every single time. But I found that the more that I shot, the more that they became used to it. And now my buddy Kylo Finn, the big black pit bull that you saw there, he just sort of ignores me. When I walk up to him, he will literally just stand there and look and give me the "Are you done?" look, and I just snap it and I'll walk away and he'll go on about his business.
Okay, so familiarity, that's what they need.
Yeah, just if you keep doing it, they'll get used to it and they won't shy away from it as often. But it took a while. It took me a couple of months to get those dogs used to it. Jax is my other little dog.
Yeah, good pictures. So, and also another focus of the articles around sound. I know that in a lot of like video recorded on drones that I've seen, you don't want to hear the sound because the sound's basically useless. It's just so. I mean, and I also know actually from going to school for audio production is that bad sound can make good video look bad. So how do you treat the sound so that all of the work that you put into the visuals of the video are respected?
About once a week, I have dedicated time to go through and find audio that just piques my interest. And you can look at sites like Audio Blocks, which is a subscription service, and it gives you all types of audio, not just music, but it can also give you sound effects, and it's all royalty free. So you don't have to worry about, you posting it up on YouTube and you get the flag and people start, telling you to take it down and all that. You don't have to worry about any of that. But there are other people out there that offer you the opportunity to use their tracks. I've connected with a lot of folks on SoundCloud and they love it if you use their audio.
Yeah.
And they just want to be accredited and get a little more recognition about it. And so I have at least one day a week where I just go through all of my music and figure out, okay, I like this. This is going to be more for a stormy kind of scene. This is going to be more for an upbeat kind of scene. And I categorize it that way. And as I'm doing my videos, I try to make the video work with the music. If a beat breaks, I try to make a cut with that break.
Right.
And you can see a difference. Television does it all the time. Movie trailers do it all the time. And if you have to, adjust the gains a little bit, take the bass and pump it up a little bit. It just depends on the mood, Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, and I love that. That was a fun shoot there at the beach.
It's crazy what drones enable as far as motion video is concerned. Whereas, 10 years ago, like this is the stuff that if you were making a film, you were getting a helicopter to do this, and that was incredibly expensive. Or some of the things that I've seen, you were getting a huge, expensive cinematic crane, to pull it off. And now this little drone with a remote control can do as good as any of that.
The thing that a lot of people tend to forget about with drones is, they can fly up to 400 feet legally, but you don't have to necessarily get that high. I can get just as nice a shot 50 feet. Off the ground, Mm-hmm. It's all about understanding what your composition is and how to frame things up.
Awesome. Ant Pruitt, it's a pleasure getting you on. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us about drone photography and videography and everything. Where do you want people to follow all of your work online?
You can follow me on Twitter at ant_Pruitt because I post a lot of things there. You'll see my Instagram link to there every now and then as well. And check me out on YouTube, youtube.com/Ant Pruitt.
Right on. Thank you, Ant.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Al.
All right. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.